Today I'm talking dark academia books. Now, I already made my favorites that are similar to The Secret History. If you want to check out that video, I'll put the card up here, but this video is not going to be books that are super similar to Donna Tartt's story. It's just going to be dark academia books that have a dark academia setting. I see so many dark academia book recommendations where they just recommend a book that has murder, and I'm sorry, but that doesn't make a book DA just because someone gets murdered. That is just a murder mystery novel. You can't, no. So in order for me to categorize a book as dark academia, it has to hit at least two of these things on this list. And this is the list. So it has to have a school setting, it can be on a campus, it could be off campus too, but it still has to at some point take place in school. It has to have a tight-knit friend group or just a friend group in general. There has to be something educational happening at some point. They have to be passionate about something or extremely obsessive about something. And of course, there has to be murder. So everything I'm listing in this video today are books that I feel hit at least two things on this list, okay? And I'll tell you what those two things are as I'm talking about them. So I'm going to start with the first book, and that is They Never Learn by Layne Fargo. If you haven't read this book yet, what are you waiting for? Because it took me a really long time to read this book. I started reading the first chapter and I never finished it until last year, and I can't believe it took me so long because the book was incredible, guys. It's so good. Imagine Dexter, but a woman. That's literally this. This book is about a professor who murders boys. She strategically plans and she finds the boy in the school that has done the worst things and she plots to murder them. She doesn't just murder someone because they didn't do something wrong. She does it because they did something really, really bad and they didn't get held accountable for their actions. So she decides to do the deed and, hold them accountable. So you get the school setting in this, you get the friend group, you get the educational aspect of it, you get someone that's obsessive, and you also get lots of murder. There's so much more to the story than what I'm explaining here. You're following two different storylines, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say how they intertwine. It's just an incredible story. She ends up plotting to murder this guy that is at the school that she works at, and she has been plotting it since she was a teenager. Once she finally gets down to doing it, it just goes totally south. Yeah, I don't wanna ruin it. Let me just say though, I rated it 5 stars. You will absolutely love it if you love DA. And I would say that this is kind of along the lines of more of a book that's similar to The Secret History. The next book is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This doesn't have a school setting, but it does have murder and it has a girl that is obsessed. This is like American Psycho, but for hot girls. Someone said that on Goodreads and I couldn't agree more. It just makes so much sense after you finish the book. So this book takes place in London and it is about a girl named Irina who takes explicit photographs of men. And she is a total narcissist. Like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this girl. But her photography becomes very popularized in the public eye because it's so interesting and so weird. But what the public doesn't know is that what she's shooting is not just art. It's not just set up for a photo. It's actually happening. And I don't want to ruin it, but oh my gosh, it's so good. This is another slow burner type of book. You don't really understand what she's done till the end of the book. You're kind of reading her day-to-day life and realizing how she is and how weird she is and how she thinks. You're really getting in the protagonist's head and it's terrifying. It's so terrifying. And then when you get to the end, you realize what she's done. I kind of already knew that's where it was going, but it was even more shocking after reading about just how she was as a person. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Couldn't recommend it more. Very, very dark. It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. And yeah. Okay, next book. I kid you not, a bird just flew straight into my window and there are feathers stuck to the glass. That just happened. That was really freaking weird. Okay. The next book is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I'm pretty sure this is a YA book, but it's really good. So this is about a teacher in high school and he is at this prestigious academy called Belmont Academy. His name is Teddy, and he just aspires to be the best of the best teachers in the school, and he wants everyone to know that he is the best of the best. Like, he consistently needs praise. Again, we have another narcissist protagonist, and I'm here for it. His main focus in this novel is pushing these students to their fullest potential, no matter what it takes. If that means failing someone so they don't get into college, he literally alters these students' life course based on what he does as a teacher, and it's really terrifying. But the best part about this book is the last line. Don't read it. I'm telling you now, don't read it. But the best part about this book is the last line. It's one of those lines that you look for when you read a novel and you're like, oh my gosh, it just sets up the entire future of the character you were just reading about. And I really liked this book. Would highly recommend. You've got the academic setting, you've got the teacher point of view, you've got the students, you've got the unhinged, obsessive, narcissist protagonist, and you've got murder. The next book is Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert, and I actually just finished reading this one, and I was contemplating whether it should be on this list or not, and after thinking about it, I decided to put it on the list. Here's why. Because you've got this really tight friend group that becomes obsessed with doing stuff they shouldn't. There is murder involved, but it's murder of animals. It is a YA novel, so don't be too afraid to pick this one up. It's not going to scar you or anything. There's also some magic in this, but the way everything was described felt very realistic, as if I got involved with a group of friends that did this. This is how it would go down. So this book is about a girl named Ivy who starts to uncover her mom's past. So you follow multiple storylines, but mostly it's of Ivy and her mom. But it starts to explain what her mom was doing and what her mom has been into growing up. And it is terrifying, guys. You will be hooked by the first chapter of this book. It immediately gets super creepy and you will be intrigued. I just thought it was a really good overall book. It was really fast paced for me. I could not stop thinking about this book. You don't get the school setting, you don't get something educational, but you do get the murder, a group of friends that are doing something that's very unsettling and very weird. I loved it and I wanted to put it on this list. The next book is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And I don't know why, but every time I think of a dark academia book, I think of this one. And I think it's because of the rich elite group that gets to go on their own private island every summer and hang out with each other and their family and friends. That seems so DA to me. It kind of reminds me of the Bellwether revivals, and it also reminds me of The Secret History. So this book is about the Sinclair family, and the Sinclair family owns their own private island off of the coast of Massachusetts, and every summer they go there with their family and friends to hang out and do whatever they want. I really love the aspect of how they describe their fun nights together on the island, but of course there is murder in this, and it is not all what it seems. This is one of those books, though, that you really have to get all the way to the end of the book to understand what the heck is going on through the entire novel. Because if I didn't finish this book, I would have been so confused what the book was about. I feel like it was a very slow burn for me, but once it hit the end, I was like, this is one of my favorite books I've ever read, just because the ending really brought everything full circle and it made you want to go back and reread the novel again. So this book has murder in it, and it has the tight-knit friend group. So it hits those two things off of my list, which makes it DA to me. And again, I don't know why, but every time I think of dark academia, this book comes to mind. I hope I'm really selling these books, because I'm trying to, and I hope I'm explaining it good, because I feel like I suck at explaining books. Like, I really try, but sometimes I go into too much detail, and hopefully this makes sense. I don't know what else to say. The next book is, well, there's actually three, is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. And I've talked about this book so many times. You know I love it. If you've been here, I've kind of cried a little bit, teared up a little bit talking about the last book. I'm gonna try not to do it again. It's incredible. So in this book, you have the friend group, you have the school setting, you have something educational, you have the protagonist that is very passionate about something, and you have murder. So this book is about 𝚋𝚘𝚘𝚔, who for her senior project Pretty sure it's her senior project. She decides to try to uncover a case in her town that went unsolved. So she starts interviewing people, calling people, showing up at their houses, and you read the entire novel through these interviews, text messages, emails, and of course there's dialogue with her as well. This book is so terrifying because I honestly, I just couldn't imagine doing this as a kid. Getting involved in something that bad seems dangerous to begin with, and it ends up getting really dangerous. So by the time you get to the third book, I know the series is YA, it is very, very dark. It's one of the most intense books I've ever read, the last one, and it just hit me in a whole other way that I wasn't expecting, and to this day, every time I think about it, I get teary-eyed and I can't explain it. Okay, I said I wasn't gonna cry. It's incredible. Like, I don't know what else to say. The characters are amazing. By the last book, not only do you get to see this girl that has been uncovering these murders, you also see someone that becomes unhinged in the process of doing it. I'm sorry. Every time I talk about this book, it gets me. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Okay. The next book is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This is a book that is very, very dark. Read the trigger warnings because it can be very unsettling, very triggering for some people. And it is about a teacher that grooms a student. This, you have the educational aspect, you have the school setting, and you also have an obsessive character. There is not murder, but it is very dark, and I felt like it still fit the DA setting because of the dark, twisted things that are going on within the school. A little note, the author actually did come out saying that this is based off of experiences that happened in her life. So knowing that and going into this book, it is pretty unsettling. As awful as a story as this is, I think it's important to know things like this actually happen. I just applaud the author for coming out with this information. Telling your story, and especially a story like this, is hard. And experiencing it with the author is a whole other experience. So I thought this book was amazing. The next book is One of Us is Lying. And this is actually a series on Peacock. So if you read this series, go watch the show. It's amazing. They did it fantastically. I loved the show. So this book is about a group of students that get called into detention one day for a bunch of things that they didn't actually do. And it's already sketchy to begin with. Kind of seems like a setup, right? Well, while they are there, one of the students in detention ends up dying. The rest of the students end up getting detained by the police and get questioned because they think it was a planned attack on this one student. But here's the catch. The student that died had a blog, kind of like Gossip Girl, where he would rat out people and expose all of their deepest, darkest secrets. So it starts going into the backstories of each individual character that was there in detention and why they could have possibly done it. You will see these students go from trying to help each other to getting themselves into an even bigger mess that you know they can never come back from. So in this book, and there's a bunch of them, you will get the school setting, you'll get the friend group, you'll get them being obsessive over hiding their secrets, and you'll also get murder. I think there's 4 books in this series. I read all of them. I loved the first one the best, but I also loved all the other ones as well. It just keeps diving so deep. The next book is a YA, and this is Truly Devious. And it's not as dark as I would like the book to be. It is YA though. I mean, that's what you get, but it definitely is dark academia, I would say. So I think there are actually 5 books in this series. I've only read the first one though. It just wasn't, again, as dark as I wanted it to be. I did enjoy the story though. So this is about a girl named Stevie who gets accepted into this very prestigious academy that is for creative people. It's in Vermont, just saying. While she's there, she decides that she wants to try to solve this famous case surrounding the school when the founder of the school's wife and daughter were kidnapped. So you get that academic school setting, you get to experience her being a student, becoming friends with everybody, trying to investigate who could have done what, getting into shenanigans she really shouldn't. And it's DA, it's not as dark as I would prefer this to be, but I still wanted to put it on the list because it's still technically dark academia, but it's for those who want a little less on the dark and just want more the academia side, but there is technically, you know, murder involved. The last book on this list is A Deadly Education, and this is by Naomi Novik. Okay, I do think this book is DA because you have the educational setting. You definitely have something that's really dark happening. Lots of murders take place. It's also fantasy. So Deadly Education is about a magical school where in order to graduate, you have to survive. Leaving your dorm to go to the bathroom, you could get killed by some monster. It's also really hard to trust other people, but you also need to trust other people in order to survive the school. So think Harry Potter, but more dark, I suppose. I mean, I wouldn't categorize this as being in the same level as Harry Potter, in my opinion, but it's kind of like that. It's a magical school with gifted students. But because this is on the fantasy side, I wanted to put it last. I didn't love the characters in this book, but that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that you won't. So that's why I still wanted to put it in here. It still hits all the markers for me because you have the school setting, you have the very dark things consistently happening, you have the friend group that has to be in existence in order for these kids to survive, and you have murder. Okay, so that is it for all of the Dark Academia recommendations. I definitely have more. If you guys want to see another video like this, let me know, because most of the books I read are Dark Academia or murder mystery, something along those lines. So yeah, just let me know. Definitely feel free to share any other Dark Academia book recommendations below with everybody, and I guess that's it. I will see you guys in the next one.